Here's a overview of what we went over yesterday in class. The first one is setting up a three-point lighting. So here's the character that I have constructed. I'm going to first make a ground plane. Here's your ground plane. I have set my default ground plane to only have one segment on subdivision on the width and height. Yours may look different. You may have a multiple divisions, so you can come in here in a channel box and change it to one because we don't need all those all the geometry. Make sure Morphe is sitting on the ground plane by going to your 4 views and zooming in. Then make sure you raise the ground plane so that his feet touches it, because if not, the shadows will look kind of funny. Okay? Alright, you may give it a color. I usually like it to be a little lighter, so I'm going to right click, assign favorite material, give it a simple Lambert with no reflections, and I'm going to call this brown. So make sure you name your assets as you work. I'm going to kind of brighten it just a little. Okay? Alright, so we're ready to set up the lights. Before you set up the lights, it's a good idea to set up your render camera so you know what you're looking at, and that way you can place your lights precisely. So I'm going to go in here and create camera. Right? I'm going to right away name this shot cam. And I'm going to go to view, select the shot cam camera, and go to panel, look through selected. Alright, so this is what my shot cam is looking at. At this point, you can turn on the resolution gate by clicking on this button right here. And so far, my resolution is set to 640 by 480, which is not what I want. So I'm going to go to the render settings and change my render settings to HD 720, like so, and close it. So now you can see that the resolution gate shows me what my camera resolution is. I'm going to kind of tumble the camera, move in, and get a good view of the character in the scene. And you can also move and size the ground plane any way you like to get it to cover more of your scene if that's what you want. So I'm going to move this around till I get it to do exactly what I'm doing, what I want it to do. So something like that. Alright. I'm going to take a quick render to see what it looks like. So I'm going to click on this little icon. And here's my character. It needs to be a little lower down because it's kind of too far up. You can also turn the display to a smaller resolution by going to test resolution and changing it to 50%. And that way when you render it won't take quite as long. Okay, so I'm going to zoom the camera out just slightly. The middle mouse click doesn't seem to do what I want it to do, so I'm going to go back to the perspective camera. Panel perspective. And turn off the resolution gate for my perspective camera. And looking for the camera. Where is my camera? Okay, the shot cam is on Morphe and it's very, very small. Let's size it up. I'm not seeing my shot cam. Okay, there it is. I activated it not to show up. Alright, so here's my shot cam. I'm going to look through selected again to make sure I'm actually working with the shot cam, which I wasn't a little while ago. So I'm going to get him up there, turn on my resolution gate, give him like a 3/4 view so he's not dead in the center. So use your rule of thirds that you learn in class, in your art classes. Make it more interesting looking. So let's say something like that. Alright. Once I like the position of my shot cam, I'm going to highlight all these values, right click, and lock selected. so I cannot move my shot cam anymore. All right. So I'm going to go back to the perspective view, and this is the time where you can set your lights. I also like to place, I don't think we need to. Okay. The easiest way to set your light is to go to the 4 views. I like to use the top view as my guide, and the camera is right here. So you want the lights to be on the left and right of the camera. So I'm going to go and create lights. I like to use spotlights for my 3-point lighting. So here's my first spotlight. It's right over here. Okay. You can also press T to turn on the manipulation, and you can guide your spotlight to what it's supposed to look at. So at this point I can go back to my 4 views and pull my light up. Now my scene is relatively big, so my icons are pretty small. So you can size up the spotlight. I'm going to have to use my outliner. To find my spotlight. Okay, so that's my spotlight. Press T for the manipulator, and you can drag the manipulator to what you want to look at. Okay, now I like to have my spotlight about a 45-degree angle from the first camera. So I'm going to go back to my top view and zoom in, and here's the Morphe character. I'm going to take the spotlight and move it to one side of the camera like so, and you can drag this manipulator to look at the character. Alright, so this is one way of doing it. Going back to my 4 views, I can see that the spotlight is pointing at the character. Okay. Another way, which is the way I prefer to do it, is to select the light and go to Panel, look through Selected, and you can now use your navigation tools to kind of zoom in on what you want the light to show. So if I keep it this way, open up the attribute editor. My spotlight currently has the intensity of 1. The cone angle is 40, so it doesn't capture the whole thing. I could move it further away, I suppose, but what I can do is increase my penumbra angle, because this will create a hard edge on the scene. So first of all, let me turn on the lights. Alright, it'll create a hard edge on the scene, so I can go ahead and bump up the penumbra angle so it's a little softer. Alright, go back to my shot cam view, and here is Morphe. Okay, now if it seems still too dark, you can bump the intensity up. So now it's a little bit brighter. So I'm going to use 1.5 for now. If I need to increase it later, I can. Alright, I'm going to turn on the shadows, because the first light, for the key light, you want to add some shadows to it. The shadows that are faster to render is the depth map shadows, but I'm going to turn up the resolution pretty high, and I'm going to give it a filter size of about 5. Okay. Right, so this is what the shadow looks like currently with the light on that side. Okay, you can go ahead and render it and see if that's what you want. Right, if you want the shadow to be on the other side, you can just move the light over. Okay, so the first light is pretty much set. I like to give it a color, so let's say this is light orange. Not too bright, just a slight hint of an orange color, like so. Okay, so that's my first spotlight. And if I reduce the cone angle and the penumbra angle, you can see that. See, that's your cone angle right here. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the default, which is I think 40, since that is outside my view. And I also want to bump up the penumbra to about 10, so it has a softer edge. Alright, so the first light is set. I'm going to name it, key light. All right, and going back to my perspective view, I can take this light and duplicate it if you like, or you can make another one. I like to duplicate, so I'm going to go to Command D. I'm sorry, my computer is slow. Let me turn off those cameras. So this is key light 2. I'm going to move this over to this side of the camera. And I like to bring my second light a little lower than the first light. And kind of raise this up slightly. Alright, so I'm going to take this light and go to Panel, Look Through Selected. And you can see that this light is now illuminating the other side of Morphe. Of course, it is way too bright, so I'm going to go to the Attribute Editor. Since it's a direct copy of the first light, I'm going to lower the intensity to about 0.75 for now, because all it's going to do is to illuminate the side that is not being lighted. Alright, I'm going to go back to my shot cam and take a look at what I have. Of course, we have to turn off the shadow for this light. Okay, so let's take a quick render. And as you can see, this side of Morphe is lighted really nicely, and this side is also pretty nicely lit up. So I'm pretty much done with both those lights. Alright, the last one to add is your rim light. So I'm going to go ahead and name this fill light. Alright, and going back to, we can try to do it here. I'm going to go to Create. I'm going to create a directional light. Okay. Alright, again, it's pretty small in the scene. It's somewhere in here in the center. So I'm going to use the scale tool and scale it really large. Let me find it. Okay, it's right here. Okay, so we're going to scale it. So you can scale these lights, it's not a big deal. Alright, open up my Attribute Editor, and I'm going to first rotate this light so that it is pointing at Morphe. And pointing down. Alright, I'm going to go to my shot cam. I'm going to start taking a look at what this light is doing. Probably going to turn off the shadow first so it's not so distracting. Go ahead and turn it. Directional lights are defaulted with ray trace shadow, so you want to go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to start rotating. I'm going to change the color of this light so I can see exactly what is illuminating. So I'm going to give it a bright red, because what I want to do is to have the light cast a rim over Morphe's character. I'm getting the rim. It doesn't matter where you place the light, so if this is in your way or you don't like it in front of Morphe, you can always move the light over, because the illumination is based on the angle that is rotated. So what I'm trying to do is to get a rim around the Morphe character. I'm not getting it so far. It's pointing down at it. Let's take a quick look at this render. Now it seems like it's illuminating the floor, but what I really like to do is for it to cast a rim around the Morphe character. Maybe red's not a good idea. I'm going to change it back to white, but I'm going to bump up the intensity. That's what I'm looking for. See that rim right there? That's what I'm looking for the light to cast a rim around my character to kind of bring it out from the background, like so. See? All right, see that rim? And that's what I'm looking for, okay? So of course now I can bump it down. It's way too bright. Or I can also have it not affect the floor. So let me show you how to do that. With the light selected, you're going to go to the rendering menu, go to lighting, and light linking editor, you're going to go to light centric. Okay, select the directional light, which I have a name, and you're going to click on the plane to deselect it. So now the light no longer affects the floor. Alright, so let me go ahead and name this light. It's going to be called the backlight. And we're going to take a quick render to see. Of course, I'm going to lower the intensity. It's way too bright. So let's give it a 1.5 intensity. Alright, and do a quick render. So as you can see, Morphe is pretty much nicely lit up. There's a little slight rim created on this side, this edge of Morphe, all along the arm. So that's what you're looking for in a 3-point lighting. Okay. At this point, I would probably want to brighten up the backdrop because right now it's defaulted to black. Unless you're going to add a sky dome, which we'll do next lesson. So I'm going to. So this video won't be too long. I'm going to go ahead and select the camera. So make sure I'm looking through, or you can select it from here. So I want the shot cam selected. I'm going to go to View, Camera Settings, right? Camera Attribute Editor, sorry. And right here you're going to see, all the way down, you're going to see something called Environment. Open it up, and that's your background color. So you can reduce the background color to give it a nicer look, or you can create a picture on it. So let's render this and see what we got. And here you go. Okay, so this is the Morphe character with a 3-point lighting. And I'll show it to you in a perspective view, what it looks like. So you have, let me enable the lights. Oh, my time machine is telling me I need to back up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, the light should be showing. It's probably out here somewhere. Yeah, here's my key light, here's my fill light, and here's the backlight for the scene. Okay, so this is your 3-point lighting. Hope it helps you, and I will be back with the next video.